How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another Team v Team, me v Sim, Team of the Year so far. We're going to go through every single position. We're going for 4-3-3 formation as per usual. And I think a lot of these picks are going to be fairly similar, to be honest, but hopefully we'll get a couple of debates in there. But in terms of Team of the Season, we'll start off with goalie, and in goal, I've gone for Vicario. I think he's definitely been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League so far. I think the only goalkeeper that can come close to him probably is Alisson, but I have sided with Vicario.
Yeah, I was toying with putting Alisson in there because I think he's also made some really big saves. And I think Liverpool, to be fair, do have the best defence in the league. But I just think Vicario have the best defensive record in the league. But I think Vicario coming into a new league, I don't think he's made any mistakes. He's made some unbelievable saves as well. I think he's been called into action a lot more than Alisson is needed to be. And the fact that he's had to make more saves and yet he's made less mistakes than Alisson and he's made some big saves and won us a lot of points, I just think he has to be in there for the first half of the season, so I put Vicario in as well.
So that is a unanimous decision. Vicario is the goalkeeper of the year so far. Moving on to right back, I think it's a toss-up between Porro and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I found it really difficult to pick between the two, but I have sided with my boy Pedro Porro. He is the most improved player for Spurs during this season as opposed to his performances last year. I think his attacking displays have been brilliant, 7 assists this season, and his defensive displays have gone up tenfold as well. So I've gone for Pedro Porro.
I've gone for Trent. I think Trent actually, near the start of the season, wasn't maybe at the level he's playing at over the last 10 games or so. But I think over the last 10, 11 games, he has been not just the best right back, but one of the best players in the league. He's been absolutely incredible. His chance creation is well up yet again, back to the levels that it was in his peak era. He's got this new inverted midfield role as well, which is really suiting him. He's coming up with clutch moments for Liverpool as well, with really important goals and last-minute winners. I just think he's actually not just been one of the best right backs in the league. I just think he's been one of the best players in the league recently. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. I can't wax lyrical enough about him. Obviously, I know you guys know I'm such a big fan of Trent, and I unfortunately, Porro's been amazing. But I think Trent, just the impact he has on his team, I just think he has to go in there, so I put him in.
The thing is with Porro versus Trent, I think Porro has been more consistent than Trent this season throughout the whole stretch of the season. I think what you're saying about Trent in the last 10 games is true, but I don't think it's been every single game for the last 10 games. I think it's a handful of those last 10 games where he's provided those clutch moments and been so amazing in that Liverpool team. So I think when I'm judging the two, when you're looking at right back of the season, I think Porro has been from start to finish probably the most consistent. So you've got to say the best right back in the league.
I think he's been the most consistent in terms of having a really good average, performance level has been really, really high. But I think when Trent is good, which I think is very often, in my opinion, he's just he's not just good, he's the best player on the pitch.
Doesn't he have more goal contributions than Trent as well?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the exact... In terms of chances created, I think Trent is probably well up there. Porro obviously gets a lot from set pieces and stuff, but so does Trent. Trent also takes the set pieces. I just think Trent controls games. He's that influential, whereas Porro is also influential, but just not on the level of Trent, I think, at the moment for me. So that's why I went with Trent.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I think defensively, I think people are going overboard. I actually think he's been okay. Apart from that Newcastle game where Gordon ripped him apart early on in the season, apart from that game, he's actually been pretty good defensively. You'd probably say that average ratings over a season, Porro probably rates higher in terms of average rating over the whole season.
I don't know. I don't know if he does. Because Trent as well, even when he's not doing as well as you think he is, I think he's still very influential in the team. I don't think he's had that many bad games.
What's Sofa Score saying instead of? I know it's not obviously the be all and end all what Sofa Score is saying, but it'd be interesting to see who's got a higher average rating on Sofa Score. It's actually Porro. Porro 7.51. Trent. Oh, he's all the way down.
7.39.
7.39. Trent is actually 19th highest rated player on SofaScore in the Premier League, and Porro is 9th.
Okay. And Odegaard's rated higher than Maddison on average rate. And so is Bruno. Doesn't mean they've been better. You know what I mean? We know Maddison on average has been probably better than those players.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's not the be all and end all, but I do think Porro has been better than Trent over a whole. Maybe if you're talking about the last couple of games, maybe Trent has been better. But I think it's more recency bias than anything else.
No, I don't think it is. But that's my personal opinion.
All right. Well, Sim has gone for Trent. I've gone for Porro. Let's go to right centre back. Who have you gone for?
Saliba, I think, is my right centre back.
Yeah, I've gone for the same. I mean, Arsenal have had a very good defence this season. Saliba's been central to that. He's a Rolls Royce of a defender, got to say that, as much as it pains me to say it. And he definitely deserves to be in that team. Yeah,
hasn't really made any mistakes. Arsenal obviously haven't been at their best, but I think he has. And I think he's a big part of the reason why maybe Arsenal, their slow-ish start to the season, hasn't been capitalised on more by maybe opposition, because he has just been a rock at the back, and they haven't been as free-flowing going forward, but defensively they've still done a very good job, and a large part of that is down to Saliba, how much he mops up, how strong he is, and he just doesn't make any mistakes. He never does, and he's so hard to beat when balls are played in behind. He's just got that recovery pace and that strength. He's really kept up his standards from last season, so I had to be in there, unfortunately.
Yeah, agreed. Alongside him, at left centre-back, I've gone for Virgil van Dijk. I think he's been incredible this season. Have you gone for the same?
Yeah, back to his best, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Liverpool have had one of the best defences so far this season. I think he's been completely central to that. He's a threat on attacking set pieces consistently, time and time again. Starts the attacks from the back for Liverpool as well. I mean, he really is back to his best.
Yeah, he's been absolutely incredible. He's so physically dominant, and maybe in the last year or so, maybe last season, he looked like a yard off it, and he looked like maybe he was starting to decline, but I think he's silenced all the doubters this season. I think he's been outstanding, so consistent as well. He did have that one slip up where he got sent off against Newcastle, which looked like a lot of people use that as the narrative. Oh, look, Van Dijk is declining, but that was clearly an anomaly in what has been a stellar season for Van Dijk. I think in every game he's just been so influential for Liverpool. So I think he's been outstanding.
Yeah. In a couple of special mentions for centre-backs, I've picked out Cuti Romero and James Tarkowski as well. You could put Mickey van der Ven in there, but seeing as he has been out injured for the last 3 months, I kind of left him out. But I think Romero and Tarkowski for Everton have both been absolutely brilliant this season as well.
Yeah, completely agree. They've been very consistent. Pau Torres, I think, apart from a dodgy opening game, has actually been really consistent in the last 10 games or so for Aston Villa as well. So he deserves a good shout.
Akanji as well. Yeah, actually.
The problem with Man City centre-backs is because they're always rotating, it's hard to just nail down one of them, but they all play at a very high level constantly, so you could have put any Man City defender in there if you wanted to, really.
True. Now let's go over to left-back. I think is another player that we're going to agree on, and that is Destiny Udogie. Has come into the league this season and has just hit the ground running. I think he's been absolutely impeccable, to be honest. And also, you got to say about Udogie, even when he does struggle in games, like I remember the first half against Arsenal, the first half against, I can't remember who it was, coming up against a top level right winger, he kind of realizes the problems that he's facing against, and then he ends up the game as like one of the best players on the football pitch. So I think he's such a quick learner, Destiny Udogie. He's been absolutely stellar, and I don't think any left back has come close to him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's been by far and away the best left back this season in terms of consistency, in terms of just how what he offers to the team, his pace, his strength. It's so hard to beat him, and even when you're taking him on, he's faced some of the best wingers in the league this season, and very few of them have been able to get the better of him over 90 minutes, which is a testament to how good he's been at such a young age as well. You've got to remember he's only 20, I think just turned 21 this season. So he's in a new league as well. And he's really looked like he's been in this league for many years, the way he's been playing, and he offers a goal threat as well when he goes forward. Got quality in goals and in assisting his teammates, and gets in goal scoring positions very often. But defensively as well, he's just so hard to beat, and that's what makes him just a complete left back.
Yeah, physical specimen, isn't he, Destiny Udogie? And for a player who's only 20 years of age, he plays like he's in his latter stages of his 20s or something. Like, he's so mature for his age, it's unbelievable. So that is Destiny Udogie at left back. So the only player we've disagreed so far on is the right back. So the team is Vicario in goal, Udogie left back, Van Dijk and Saliba at centre backs, and I've gone for Pedro Porro right back. Sim has gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Let's move on to the midfield, and let's start off with the base of that midfield in the number 6. I have gone for Rodri of Man City. It was clear to see when he was out how much they missed him 4 losses on the bounce. Ever since he's come back into the team, the Man City form has completely picked up. And not only is he an unbelievable defensive midfielder, but his passing ability is just insane. He provides those clutch moments as well, time and time again for Man City when they desperately need him. He just needs to watch his head a bit, because he does lose his head from time to time and gets sent off, which is very much to the detriment of Man City. But he's by far the best midfielder in this football league. Yeah,
you talk about midfielder, a defensive midfielder who's got 8 goal contributions this season. It's astonishing how he's becoming that all-round midfielder. He used to be that guy who just sits and like does the Makelele role. You wouldn't really see him going forward too much, but you always knew what he offered defensively, just with the control and with how often he recovers the ball. But now he's just adding more strings to his bow. And as you say, I think not only does he score goals, he scores really important goals as well. And more often than not, it's like late winners, clutch moments, and he provides his passing range is really coming on. He's becoming decisive with his assists as well, with his passes over the top and finding those Man City attackers in the box in space. And he still offers what he was always offered, which is that solid base in the midfield. And he's so hard to get past when people are taking him on. He's been really, really astonishing this whole season, by far and away the best 6 so far this season. I just think at the moment it's hard to think. I think he's definitely the best defensive midfielder in the world right now.
Agreed. So that is another agreement. Rodri at the base of the midfield. Who are you putting forward as your next midfielder?
So in the kind of box-to-box kind of role, I'm going with Douglas Luiz of Aston Villa. I think he's been super consistent the whole season. Offers a really good goal threat as well. I think 6 goals so far this season, 3 assists as well. He's up there with the goal contributions, but he offers those intangibles as well off the ball. I think it's so vital to how Aston Villa play. He adds that little bit of quality, but he's so aggressive in the tackle. He always makes a high number of tackles, interceptions per game as well. I think Aston Villa rely very heavily on their midfield to win games and be intense and aggressive, but he just adds that little bit extra, because they don't really have many creative players, and he adds that little bit of sparkle in midfield where they need to have a bit of quality, a shot from outside the box or an assist from a deep position. He more often than not provides it and has top set pieces as well. So I put him in. I think for Aston Villa, he's probably been their most important midfielder.
Yeah, he's been incredible, Douglas Luiz, this season. But the player I'm going to put forward, I put Douglas Luiz in my special mentions, but the player I'm going to put forward has usually played as a 6 this season, but he has played the 8 a couple of times, and I think he's done it to a high level, and that is Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice has just been unreal this season. One of the best midfielders in the Premier League, hands down. He's added so much to that Arsenal midfield, albeit Arsenal haven't been great attacking wise this season, and maybe that's because of some of the players that they are missing. I'm not sure what the total reason is, but I think Declan Rice, he's also come up with clutch moments. That last minute winner against Manchester United when they ended up winning 3-1. When he does go forward, it's really hard to get the ball off him, to be honest. He barges his way past players, and he really sets Arsenal up on countless amount of attacks this season, and going the other way, it's really hard to get the ball past him. So I think Declan Rice has been hands down better than someone like Douglas Luiz.
Look, fair enough. It's hard to completely disagree, because I think Rice has been unbelievable. I just think Douglas Luiz has got a tougher job in a team like Aston Villa the way he does, and he's got more work to do, I feel, a lot of the time. And I just feel like I actually think going forward, Luiz has offered a bit more than Rice. I think defensively, Rice, I have to say, has been amazing and probably is a bit better than Luiz. But I think as an all-round package, I've just shaded it with Luiz. That was just my opinion.
I actually think Rice is a bit underrated on the work that he does going forward. I actually think it's pretty good. The amount of time he just charges through that midfield, it's actually so hard to get the ball off him. It really is.
He's a good ball carrier.
Very good ball carrier. So I think Rice is clear, to be honest, but he's gone for Luiz. I've gone for Declan Rice. In the furthest forward midfielder, you know who I've gone for, and that's Big Phil Foden. I think he's been crazy this season. Foden has, been given the authority to play every single game more or less this season, and Man City have really reaped the benefits. I hope his game time doesn't diminish now that Kevin De Bruyne is back. I just think he's been so central to everything Man City have done throughout the whole season, and Rodri aside, he's probably been their best player.
Yeah, he's been amazing, and I actually think it's really helped his development in a weird way, because with De Bruyne being constantly fit for a number of years, Foden's always been shunted out to the wing, and he's obviously made the most of it and done a really good job. But I think we've finally seen the best of Phil Foden this season, moved into a central area when in De Bruyne's absence, and it's really helped his development in that kind of role. And I think he's been absolutely incredible there. I think it's 11 goal contributions in 15 or 17 starts or something like that. I think his work in the tight spaces is just so hard to deal with. I think he's the best player when you get him on the ball in and around the penalty area when he's got players around him. I can't think of a better player to wriggle out of those situations than Phil Foden and also make something happen. And he's obviously really sharpening his shooting boots. He's getting more goals. He's finally becoming that player. Obviously, he's been amazing for the last few years, but he's like finally become that player who's just, we all know he's world class, but at 22 years of age, playing that central spot, getting goals and assists for fun, he's been a delight to watch this season, Phil Foden. So I had to put him in there.
Yeah, a couple of special mentions. I think Bernardo Silva has to be mentioned. I think he's been absolutely brilliant this season. Cole Palmer as well for Chelsea. Man City kind of just let him go by the wayside. Chelsea put their money where their mouths is for Cole Palmer, and he's been absolutely brilliant. Chelsea's best player this season. Maybe, well, I say Conor Gallagher aside, but I didn't even put Conor Gallagher in the special mentions, but he's also been really good for Chelsea. I put Douglas Luiz in there. João Palhinha of Fulham as well. I think he's been absolutely brilliant in the number 6. And Lucas Paquetá for West Ham. I think he's come on leaps and bounds from last season too.
Yeah, he's performing such a great level. Obviously, James Maddison was a massive shout before he got injured. He probably was a shoo-in for this. If I had told you after 9 games he wouldn't be in half team season of the year, you'd be like, what are you talking about? But obviously that injury has curtailed that. So with only playing 10 games, that counts against him. But if we take just those 10 games, that level of performance, he probably makes it. I think he's been amazing as well. So, yeah, apart from that, I think John McGinn, I think, has had a great season. Ward-Prowse started really well, but maybe tailed off last few games. But other than that, yeah, I think I agree with your mentions.
And let's move on to the front line. We'll start off with the right winger. Who you gone for?
Mo Salah. Who else?
Bukayo Saka doesn't get a look in this year.
Quite, no. Look, he started the season well, Saka, but last 2-3 months he just hasn't been at the same level. He's been devoid of that spark. He seems very tired. Salah, just relentless consistency. I think that's the best way to put it. He just doesn't let his standards drop. Even when he's having a bad game, he just finds a way of getting a goal contribution on the board. He's really embraced that creative role this season as well. He's much more becoming a creator, but we say that, and he's still second top goal scorer in the league. He's top. He's level with. Level with Haaland, 14, which is astonishing. Obviously, he gets a lot of penalties, but that's astonishing. And you add into the fact I think he's top for the assists as well. So unbelievable season Mo Salah is having yet again. He had to be there. Yeah,
I completely agree. Can't really add too much more to that. He's just never lets his standards drop. He's an unbelievable football player, unbelievable professional, and he's not getting any younger as well, and he just seems to get fitter and fitter as the years go by. So Mo Salah is definitely a shoo-in for the right wing. For the left wing, it's got to be our boy Heung-min Son, taking on that leadership role this year, back in the goals, back to his best. 12 goals this season, I think it is so far. 5 assists as well. A lot of people thought, are we seeing Son starting to diminish in the Premier League now? But he's shot back at those critics, and he's been unbelievable this season.
Yeah, obviously I think his best work has probably been a central striker, but I had to fit him in this team, and I think the only place you could really fit him in is a left wing, and he has played well at left wing as well this season. I think he's really getting back to his best. He's become so sharp, and we know how good he is in front of goal, and I think his chance creation is something that's really gone under the radar. He's creating more chances for his teammates than he ever has. I think his assist tally shows that. I think he's really embracing that creative void that Harry Kane has left as well. And in front of goal, he's as clinical as anyone, so he had to be in the team as well on the left wing.
And then moving up to the striker, and it's obviously going to be Erling Haaland, isn't it? Top goal scorer alongside Mo Salah, 14 goals, and he hasn't even played for the last month or so, which is just crazy. I mean, I don't even think he was unbelievable. It's just the sheer amount of goals he gets. It's just too hard to ignore.
Yeah, 14 goals in 15 games. What can you argue about that? And he's still such a threat. Always in the big games. He's always turns up and gets goals as well when Man City are struggling. I think he's been exceptional this season in terms of goal scoring, and he's a league top goal scorer again off the back of 37 Premier League goals last season. There was always going to be even though expect Haaland to be banging every game, it was always going to be tough to follow it. But he started the season with a house on fire, and I'm sure when he gets back from injury, he'll start banging them in again, and I'm sure he'll go off to get another golden boot. So I agree. He's not maybe being as good as he was last season, but he's still just head and shoulders the best striker in the league.
Yeah, and kind of the whole Premier League should be fearing it now, to be honest, with De Bruyne and Haaland both back now for the second half of the season. It's going to be a sight for sore eyes, that's for sure. But in terms of special mentions for the front line, I've got Jared Bowen, who's very unlucky to miss out on this front line, to be honest, because he's been insane this season, Bowen. The amount of goals he's got and goal contributions he's got has been brilliant.
Had to fill in up front a few times as well. And done
yeah,
well.
Exactly. Anthony Gordon as well for Newcastle. With all the amount of injuries he's had, he's kind of picked up that mantle. I know Newcastle are kind of losing every week at the moment, but he's like kind of one of the shining lights in that team that he always seems to get a goal contribution every single game. And he's been brilliant for them.
In great form at the moment as well.
Ollie Watkins, another player who's been brilliant this season, seems to get a goal contribution every week. And I've gone one outside the box in Cunha of Wolves, who I think has been brilliant. Like he kind of came out of nowhere, because last season for Wolves, he kind of did nothing, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then this season, he's just kind of exploded.
I think 6 goals, 5 goals and 5 assists, which is, for a guy who was known for lacking end product, he's really starting to add that to his game. For me, a couple of mentions I want to give. Mohamed Kudus, I think he's been really strong for West Ham first half of the season. 9 goal contributions, playing on that right wing. He's really settled in very well in the Premier League. Hwang Hee-chan. 10 Premier League goals this season for Wolves as well. No one expected that kind of output this season from him, and he's really even I thought it was just like a hot streak, and now I'm looking at it thinking it's lasted half the season, and fair play to him, like he's consistently getting on the score sheet. So really great. And obviously Alexander Isak, I think he's been really consistent this season as well for Newcastle, off the back of a really good first season. I think he's developing into one of the top strikers in Europe at the moment as an all-round striker, so he's been top class.
Another player that we should mention is probably Leon Bailey as well for Aston Villa. Leon Bailey has surprised me massively, because they signed him, didn't really get to grips with things straight away. Then they signed Moussa Diaby, and I thought, well, is this going to be the end of Leon Bailey already? And he's come in this season, been better than Moussa Diaby.
He has. I think it's 5 goals and 5 assists for Leon Bailey. 6 goals and 5 assists. So that goes to show how effective he's been. And everyone wrote him off because of a poor last year, but he's been absolutely brilliant as well. So fair play to him. He's been really, really good.
And a player we haven't mentioned is Richarlison. He's had more goals than all those players that we're talking about.
December, yeah. And the one I did mention, Dominic Solanke as well.
Yeah.
12 Premier League goals. He's had a great run of form for Bournemouth. You've got to give him massive credit. And also Julian Alvarez, who I think has been super consistent for Man City this whole season. In the absence of Haaland as well, really stepped up and been getting goals and assists as well. So a lot of honourable mentions in the forward line.
Yeah, we did our predictions, didn't we, at the start of the season? I can't remember who you put as flop. You put Harvey Barnes, didn't you, flop of the season?
Yeah.
And I put Kai Havertz. Who do you think has been the flop of the season?
Who is... As in, I mean, it's easy to say Sancho, but he hasn't really played. I think he was my surprise of the season, and that hasn't really turned out.
No.
Who has been the flop of the season? Someone who we expect maybe...
It's got to be like Nicholas Jackson, right? But even there, he's scored quite a few goals.
He has got a few goals, and he's still young, so I wouldn't call him the flop of the season. I mean, Mount has a good shout, but again, he hasn't played that much.
He's been injured most of the season.
But when he has played, he's been terrible.
Maybe it is Kai Havertz.
I mean...
Kai Havertz, he came in and scored a couple of goals, but all in all, you would say he's a flop so far.
For 65 million, yeah, it's hard to... So I do think he's been a flop, but... He has also had some good performances, so I'm just trying to think.
But those performances, he's kind of reverted back to being poor again, though. Kai Havertz, after initial spell of 2 or 3 games looking all right, but now he's just looking back to what he was.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. I mean, obviously, when you look at the price tag, it's hard to disagree. Kai Havertz a bit of being flop of the season at the moment, just because he came in with such big money. So, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of. I can't really think of who's been that bad in terms of is his flop of season only new signings? Is it anyone who's brought in, or could be anyone?
Yeah, I guess it could be anyone, but I think we went for new signings.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of off the top of my head, probably his Kai Havertz, just because I think he's got the most money. Onana's a great shout. He's been terrible. I think actually, in terms of a player we really expected a lot of and just has really let us down, I think Onana's a big shout.
David Raya?
I don't think Rare's on that Onana's level, though.
I
don't
agree.
think he's been as bad as Onana.
I mean, you got to remember the first 10 games for David Ray, he was dropping some clangers.
I think as Luton he did, and then against Chelsea he made a mistake. But I think by and large he's been pretty.
He's got
decent.
better. He's got better.
He's been pretty decent by and large. I can't think who else has been massively flopped.
Disassi.
You can name the whole Chelsea squad.
Yeah. Pochettino.
Yeah, he's been woeful. Oh, Mudryk. I think he's a good. Really
Mudryk.
good shout.
Yeah, it's his second season though, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's massively flopped.
Yeah, he has. All right. Well, there you have it. That is our team of the season. Let's run through it just one more time. Vicario in goal. Right back, I went for Porro. Sim went for Trent. Saliba, Van Dijk, Udogie in the back line. Rodri as the 6. As the 8, I went for Rice. Sim went for Douglas Luiz. And then the rest of the team is exactly the same. Phil Foden in the 10. Salah on the right. Son on the left. And Erling Haaland up top. Who's been manager of the season so far?
Big Ange.
Come
on.
I think we were discussing this, weren't we, off air not long ago, and we said the 3 in the running are Big Ange, Unai Emery, and Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I think.
Do you reckon Gary O'Neill is
Gary
anywhere in the
O'Neill,
shout?
both him and Iraola,
Iraola as
coming
well.
into it as well because they've both done great. And if Rob Edwards keeps Luton up, he definitely is in the running.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll definitely be in the running. And to be fair,
Nuno.
West Ham are sitting in 6th.
David Moyes.
Yeah, they are sitting in 6th, but I don't think I don't know. I reckon it's kind of built on a house of cards in a bit. I reckon they could fall.
It's mad with David Moyes because we only played West Ham, a month ago? And when we spoke to Nicky from West Ham Fan TV, he was like, yeah, I think Moyes has done it at West Ham. Our uncle said it consistently time and time again, and that was only a month ago.
But since then, they beat us away.
Yeah,
beat Arsenal
I know.
away, and it's like they're getting all these results. But look, yeah, he's doing very well. I don't think... Look, if they finish 6th, he definitely is in the running. So you've got to say he's in with a shout. But I think Ange, Emery, Klopp are another level.
So Ange is pipping it.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is your team of the season so far, halfway in. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.